4 years ago, at our engagement banquet, the fiancé only said, "Wait for me," then there was no news. I became the joke of the family. I had no choice but to leave my hometown for New York. 4 years later, at the largest entertainment venue in New York, I was hugging a male model's waist. Unexpectedly, I ran into that fiancé who had disappeared for 4 years. "Olivia, you've become impressive now. The largest entertainment venue in New York is completely under control at this moment. A group of disheveled people is squatting on the floor. My hands are still handcuffed, just not squatting with them. Liam took me alone to the hallway. Half an hour ago, I was still dancing with the male model in the private room. My fiancé, who had disappeared for 4 years, suddenly barged in. Everyone squat down. This voice just sounded at the moment of our eye contact. It suddenly stopped. We haven't seen each other for 4 years. He has lost weight. You seem more mature now." After a brief moment of silence, he walked out from behind the door. He led me to sit on the sofa in the hallway. He sat down across from me. He lit a cigarette. He used to not smoke. "What exactly are you here for?" He finished one cigarette. He asked me calmly, but his slightly trembling hand betrayed his inner tension. "Haven't you figured it out yet?" I let out a cold snort. I turned my head and stopped looking at him. He walked in front of me. He grabbed my chin. "Olivia, you think you're really something, don't you?" I saw a decorative vase on the shelf beside me. Without saying a word, I grabbed it and smashed it down on his head with force. "What right do you have to ask me?" "As my fiancé," I said with a cold laugh. Blood flowed down his face, but he remained motionless, still tightly gripping my chin, silently staring at me. After a while, he asked, "Are you still angry?" This sentence felt like a glass of lemon juice was poured into my heart. It was so sour that I almost cried. I had heard it countless times before. We were neighbors. We were classmates. We were childhood friends. We were even once engaged. In my memory, there was always a boy who liked to walk backward on the way home from school. He would smile and hand me a candy and ask me, "Are you still angry? Why do you get angry so easily?" Later, we both got into Harvard University. He became a police officer. I became a journalist. If he hadn't suddenly left 4 years ago, we should have been married by now. "Captain Liam," a clear voice broke the silence. A girl in a white coat walked out from behind the door. "Oh no, why is there blood on your head? Let me help you with the bandaging." The girl saw the blood on his face. Her heart was filled with concern. She immediately turned her head to look at me. At the moment our eyes met, she was stunned. "Junior sister Olivia, it's you," she asked. I smiled and said to senior sister Sophia, "Senior sister Sophia, long time no see." Her gaze shifted back and forth between me and Liam. Seeing Liam's hand resting on my shoulder and the red mark on my face, his expression changed repeatedly. He took a deep breath and tried to speak calmly. "Junior sister Olivia, even though you and Liam aren't married yet, if you have difficulties, you can come to us. We will definitely help. There's really no need to come to a place like this." She hesitated for a moment. Her expression was somewhat awkward. 4 years ago, Liam decided to go abroad with me. He left you at the engagement party. You have resentment in your heart. We can all understand that, but you can't just give up on yourself. Sophia is like a caring big sister. She patiently persuades me. I suddenly stood up. I looked at Liam with questioning eyes. At that moment, a rush of footsteps came from outside. "Now our minister is Ethan." He glanced at me anxiously. He quickly handed the documents in his hand to Liam. "I'm sorry. Captain Liam, Olivia is the reporter from our department. She came here in disguise today. It's to find evidence of illegal activities at night. She happened to run into you while you were on the case. Sorry for the trouble. This is the certificate issued by the Bureau." Although Ethan is anxious, he still maintains his composure. Liam stared at the documents in his hand. He made no move. The little police officer next to me sensed the atmosphere was a bit awkward. He proactively helped me unlock the handcuffs. I rubbed my wrists. Ethan saw that I was only wearing a thin dress, so he took off his coat and draped it over me. Sophia recalled what she had said before. Her face alternated between red and pale. He said to junior sister Olivia, "I'm sorry. I misunderstood you. I thought you still liked to play around like before. Sophia, so many years have passed. You're still the same." I helplessly shook my head. "Actually, I've always known." Sophia's feelings for Liam have never changed. At the class reunion, she pretended to lose the game. The dare was to kiss a guy present. She set her sights on Liam. Liam immediately stood up. He downed 3 glasses of wine on the table in one go. Then he said, Sorry, everyone. I'll punish myself with 3 drinks. My girlfriend is still at home waiting for me to come back. The classmates around started to jeer. Her face suddenly turned red. She said to Captain Liam, "Captain Liam, can I take him away?" Ethan asked Liam. Was Olivia Jr. scared today? Liam just quietly looked at him. No answer. Sophia seemed to ignore my sarcasm. She said gently, "Okay." Ethan nodded. He put his arm around my shoulder. He planned to take me away. I turned to look at Liam. 4 years ago, he actually left me for Sophia. At the engagement banquet, making me and my family the laughingstock. Those past events. I really don't want to think about them anymore. I don't want it anymore either. No, Liam suddenly said. He walked up to us. He grabbed my wrist and pulled me aside. He said, "She has to come back to the police station to give a statement. You can't take her away. Captain Liam, if needed, our TV station will fully cooperate with the police investigation. Olivia is one of my people. I have to take her away." Ethan faces Liam with a determined attitude, unyielding. Back when I first arrived in New York, I submitted my resume to the New York broadcasting station. The competition at the station was extremely fierce. I'm not a local. Logically, it shouldn't be my turn. But Ethan, as the director, immediately recognized the value of my article. He insisted on keeping me on. Ethan is usually very gentle. I rarely see him being this tough. Sophia gently tugged at his sleeve. She whispered, "Liam, let them go," but he shook off her hand. "Don't think you can take her away from me." He stepped forward. Ethan was clearly a bit annoyed. "Captain Liam, since you left Olivia 4 years ago, what are you doing here now? It's a matter between us. No need for outsiders to interfere." Liam answered directly. I sensed trouble. I immediately stood between the two. I tried to mediate. It's okay, Ethan. Thank you for coming today to help me prove my identity. I'll cooperate a bit. It's all right." I offered him some comfort. Ethan looked at me deeply. He said, "If you need anything, just call me." Liam asked me to wait in his car first. His side of the matter isn't over yet. Ethan's clothes were returned by an officer under his command. Now, I have his uniform jacket draped over me. The clothes don't smell of sweat, just like him. Always clean and fresh. The familiar scent and memories from the past surrounded me like a tide in the enclosed car. I remember college days. He rode his bike in front of me. He handed me a small velvet box. The sunlight spilled over it. Inside was a diamond ring. He made a wish on his birthday. He hoped to become a good police officer and to marry me. But at the engagement party, he only said goodbye and left all the troubles to me. Then he disappeared without a trace. During that time, no matter where I went, there were always people mocking me for being too naive. I turned my head, and tears suddenly fell down. In these 4 years, I have been working hard. I dared not to slack off for a moment. I thought I had let it go, but the moment I saw him again, it felt as if the whole world had disappeared. Only his moist eyes remained. The events at the club are coming to an end. Many people were taken away in handcuffs. He was the last one to come out. He shook hands with another person. Then he walked towards me. He stood tall and straight. It was clearly the result of long-term training. But the moment he opened the car door and got in, he suddenly relaxed completely. Weren't we supposed to take a statement? It's getting late. After this, I still have to go to work, I said expressionlessly. Olivia. He took my hand, softly calling my name. That sad expression on his face made me feel like he had become a different person. I said to him, "Captain Liam, since you chose Sophia 4 years ago, then let's end things between us like this." After saying that, I forcibly pulled my hand away from his. "I have always only chosen you, Olivia, no one else." He reached out and gently tucked my hair behind my ear. "All right, then you tell me, where did you go 4 years ago?" I asked him. I spoke up, and tears couldn't help but fall. He remained silent in the dim light. He gently wiped away my tears. "Liam, you go ahead. You go ahead. As long as you speak up, I will trust you. As long as you explain, I will forgive you." Faced with his silence, my tears kept falling. It was just dawn. I returned his clothes. I said to Liam, "Let's say goodbye here. Do you not want me anymore?" He instinctively grabbed the hem of my clothes. "It was you who didn't want me first." I opened the car door without hesitation and turned to leave. At work, the station head came to Ethan's office to talk to me. "Little song. The follow-up to the last incident at night scene has been taken over by the police. Our station has already contacted the Public Security Bureau. Next, we will send reporters to coordinate with them. Confirm the content and format of the report," the station director said. The Public Security Bureau has discussed it with us internally. Since you are one of the parties involved, we would like to ask you to take charge of following up on this matter. The station director. Little Song is still young, lacking experience. How about I go this time instead? Ethan stepped forward and said, Little Song, you are a journalist. You must be responsible for your reporting. The station director said to me seriously. The station director. I'll go. I nodded. After the station director left, Ethan appeared somewhat worried. If you feel unwell, just let me know at any time. I can take over for you, he said, gently reaching out to rub my head. Thank you, Ethan. The station director is right. First and foremost, I am a reporter. You hired me in the first place because you valued my workability. I smiled at him gratefully. Furthermore, he's so busy. He probably doesn't have time to coordinate with the reporters. I secretly comforted myself. The one handing over to me is definitely not him, but rather a very young police officer. When he saw me, he said, Little Sister Song, you've finally arrived. He smiled honestly. He said, everyone in our team admires you. You're just a young girl. You dare to go undercover alone in the night. Everyone thinks you're very brave. Our master even said, you're a good candidate to be a police officer. He continued, our master also said, he wants to introduce you to our team, Liam. My smile froze instantly after a while. I couldn't help but casually ask, the day I saw you in action, the doctor was walking with Captain Liam. They should have a good relationship, right? Before I could finish my sentence, a sudden small commotion erupted ahead. I faintly heard someone shouting, catch it quickly. Then, a large black-backed dog came running towards us. Suddenly, I felt frozen in place, unable to move. Memories of being chased by dogs in childhood surged to my mind. Fear made me close my eyes. I sat on the ground. I tightly hugged my head. Liam, in a panic. I involuntarily shouted his name. He responded immediately. I'm here. His voice was no longer as childish as before, but the firmness and determination in his words remained unchanged. The dog, which looked fierce, was now sitting obediently on the ground. Liam knelt in front of me. He reached out to help me up. He gently comforted me. Olivia, don't worry. It's all okay now. At that moment, I saw Sophia quickly running over from not far away. I'm sorry, junior sister. It's all my fault. I didn't hold the lead rope steady just now, she said with a face full of apology. Her eyes were a bit red. Her hands were nervously clasped together. Junior sister, your hand is scraped. Let me help you bandage it. As she spoke, she reached out her hand. Liam raised his hand to block her. Sophia looked at him with grievance. Liam, I just wanted to help junior sister bandage it. Liam's voice was not loud, but it carried a clear indifference. He said, don't touch her. I looked at him with some confusion. He didn't look at Sophia again. He directly picked me up in a horizontal carry and walked towards the infirmary. 2 or 3 girls followed along, standing beside Sophia. Their few words floated into my ears. What are you pretending for? It's not like the injury is on her leg. Still letting our team Liam hold on. Everyone is clear about this. Sophia and Team Liam will be together soon. Still pretending at this time? It's really inappropriate. I was very mischievous when I was young, always bumping into things everywhere. I often had injuries on me, either scraped my skin or got bruises from collisions. My mom was quite open-minded about it. She always said that kids need to fall and get hurt to grow up. But Liam is different. He always pins me down in my seat, carefully applies medicine to me. He still does that now, after he helps me put on the bandage. He still holds my hand. I try to pull my hand back, but he doesn't let go. There's nothing between her and me, he said softly. You don't need to explain to me. I turned my head, not looking at him anymore. Olivia, don't be angry anymore. He lowered his head, gently kissed the back of my hand. I raised my hand and slapped him. He turned his head to the side. I said coldly, Liam, you know me. Liam, you understand me. If someone leaves me once, I won't look back again. Olivia, let me explain. What happened that day was actually, he appeared somewhat flustered. I said to Captain Liam, I'm getting married soon. You know my partner. It's Ethan. I interrupted him. Go on. He is young and accomplished. He has a successful career. He is a good match, most importantly. He will never let me face difficulties alone. Liam hadn't finished speaking. I stood up, wanting to leave. He grabbed my wrist and pulled me hard. I fell back down. He pressed my head down. A soft sensation came from his lips. After a while, a faint smell of blood lingered in my mouth. My mind suddenly went blank. I was stunned for a moment. My mouth slightly opened. I was completely frozen from his gaze. I could only see a lifeless calm and deep fear. I've never seen such an expression on his face. I was so scared that I quickly ran away. When the news reported the illegal activities that night, everyone applauded in delight. The television station and the police department were very satisfied with this collaboration. Both sides decided to hold a small gathering to celebrate. While singing, everyone drank to their heart's content and had a lively time. I've been following this project for a long time. Now it has finally succeeded. I'm especially happy. Drinking one cup after another, my face quickly turned red in a daze. I heard girls cheering. Yay, yay, yay. Sophia drew the dare. Quick, find a single man present to kiss for 5 seconds. Sophia smiled. She felt a bit shy, but she still stood up calmly. I couldn't help but smirk inside. This scene feels so familiar. He loved playing this game back in college. I didn't expect him to still be like this now. Captain Liam. Sophia walked up to Liam. The crowd's cheers grew louder. What a perfect match. They are a natural pair. You might as well just get married. So boring. I shook my head and got up to leave. Little song. Where are you going? Sophia called out to me. I understood what she meant. A few years ago, Liam rejected her because of me, but that reason no longer exists. I'm going to the bathroom. I replied expressionlessly. Why does reporter Little Song look unhappy? Sophia walks forward, trying to pull me back. Liam reached out to stop her. There was a commotion all around. Liam, you didn't accept me before. You should be able to accept me now, right? Sophia looked up at Liam. The slightly red rims around her eyes made her look particularly pitiable. She raised her hand and wrapped it around his neck. Dr. Sophia, you're drunk. Don't forget I'm engaged. Liam gently moved her hand away under everyone's gaze. He wrapped his arms around my shoulders and took me away. The night wind was a bit chilly. It made me feel a little more awake. I asked somewhat unhappily, Liam, what exactly do you want to do? He wanted me to calm down. He gently patted my back, helping me relax. I'm no longer angry. What should I do for you to forgive me? He held my hand. I've already said I'm not angry anymore. Is it only when I'm dead that you'll forgive me? I furrowed my brow. I didn't quite understand what he was saying. Once the effects of the alcohol kicked in, I couldn't help but say something. Then you might as well not live. After that night, I never saw him again. But there's no need to see him again. I held that thin application form. While saying goodbye at the airport, Ethan finally couldn't help but ask me, are you going to country to be a war correspondent to avoid Liam? I really didn't know how to face him, but that's not the reason. I shook my head and said, Ethan, when you hired me, you knew very well that I wouldn't be satisfied with just answering citizen calls every day. I wanted to do real work, focus on people's livelihoods, become a documentary journalist. The children in country have experienced too much war. The great powers have concealed the truth through the media. We have the responsibility to convey people's aversion to war and their desire for peace. Ethan reached out his hand. He hesitated for a moment. In the end, he placed his hand on my shoulder. Olivia, I'll wait for you to come back. Think of me. He looked into my eyes and said, I can wait for you. I'll wait for you to come back. I'll wait until you can accept me, even if you can't forget Liam. I want to spend my life with you. When I first arrived in New York, I faced many difficulties. It was Ethan who helped me. He appreciated me, helped me, take me, understand me, support my dreams, understand my ambitions. I opened my arms and hugged him tightly. Ethan, thank you. And I have to say I'm sorry in my life. I will never love anyone else again. As soon as the explosion sounded, I immediately covered my head and lay on the ground. The government officer beside me patted my shoulder. He told me that the gunfire was still far away. He asked me, you really want to go with us to rescue those children? You don't even have a weapon. He communicated with me in somewhat broken English. At 6 a.m, the government forces received news of enemy provocation. The other side had kidnapped more than 20 children and women and planned to execute them at noon. I thought to myself, this heinous act must be documented so that more people know. The United Nations definitely won't stand by and do nothing, I explained. The soldier gave a wry smile. He placed his helmet on my head. Miss, you will die. I live for the sake of death. I tightly gripped the camera in my hands, I said firmly. Amidst the gunfire and explosions, the government forces blew open the basement door, evacuating with the children. When the last child came out, the enemy threw a grenade at us. I immediately threw the camera away, protecting the 3 children behind me. Before the grenade exploded, we quickly hid in the basement. Although we weren't hit, the entrance to the basement was blocked by a collapsed wall. At that moment, a burst of static came from the walkie-talkie. The soldier asked me if I was safe. "Miss, we are currently short-staffed. We are escorting other children to evacuate. We have reported your situation to the embassy. Your peacekeeping police will arrive soon. You must hold on," I urged. "Thank you. Please make sure to send the camera to the embassy." The 3 children beside me stared wide-eyed. He looked at me with a bewildered expression. I let out a long sigh. I'm only 24 years old, yet I feel like an old person now. Time passed little by little. The air is getting thinner. My mind started to get fuzzy. Many images flashed before my eyes. Like a movie playing, in the end, the scene stopped at that engagement banquet. Liam didn't leave. This surprised me a bit. He pushed open the heavy door. Covered in dust and dirt, he walked straight towards me. "Liam, let me see you one more time." Dust continued to fall from the gaps in the door. Suddenly, the light brightened. The door was moved aside. A few people in police uniforms jumped down. "Save the child first! Save the child first!" I shouted while pushing the child beside me out of the darkness. Liam's team, I'm here," a police officer shouted loudly. I barely propped myself up. I looked ahead. A man jumped down from a height. He walked towards me, facing the light. He had an upright posture. His features were distinct, one of a kind. "Is it you?" I used all my strength to reach out my hand. "Olivia, I'm here." He pulled me into his arms, even after going through countless hardships. Amidst the chaos of war, "You still came, Liam." Doctor, Sophia." Liam tightly grasped my arm. He shouted with a trembling voice. "Liam's team. The enemy is closing in. We have no right to fire first. Let's hurry and retreat," the officer beside me said urgently, as soon as the gunfire rang out. Liam immediately shielded my head with his hand. He pulled me behind the pillar to hide. The teammates are counterattacking, but he didn't move. His hand holding the gun was trembling uncontrollably. His chest was heaving violently. Liam. I called out to him again and again, but it seemed he couldn't hear me. Not far away, someone was pointing a gun at him. Suddenly, Liam dropped the gun. He crouched down and covered his head. I immediately picked up the gun from the ground. With a loud bang, the powerful recoil knocked me to the ground. Liam was still covering his head. He was drenched in sweat, trembling uncontrollably. Reinforcements arrived. His teammates immediately secured him to the stretcher. I quickly caught up, but Sophia suddenly appeared. She blocked my way. He said to me, "Olivia, you got him killed. The nights in country are cold enough to make one shiver." I sat in the cold wind for a long time. I raised my hand and rubbed my forehead. Inside the house, they locked Liam up with iron chains, the once vibrant young man from university. He was also the pride of the police force. Now, however, he is bound by chains in a foreign land. Until today, only now do I know that he has developed PTSD. On that night 4 years ago, his family lit the first firecracker at his engagement banquet. He boarded the evacuation plane. When the sound of firecrackers rang out, he fired the first shot. The guests were warmly wishing me well. Yet on the other side of the world, it was a scene of devastation. He stood on a battlefield ravaged by war. This was his first mission as an outstanding graduate police officer. The situation was so urgent that there was no time for psychological support due to the confidentiality involved. He remained tight-lipped. No wonder when we first reunited. I just feel like he has changed. No wonder he was in the medical room, the usually calm and gentle him, suddenly showing such fear and panic. I wiped away my tears. I stood up and walked into the room. His hands and feet were tied to the bed. It was to prevent him from hurting himself. Later, he was transferred to the New York Police Department for routine work. His PTSD was almost cured originally because I came. He came without hesitation. "Liam, why are you so foolish?" I began to untie the shackles on him. Sophia walked in with a tray of medicine. Frowning, she asked me, "Olivia, what are you trying to do?" "He definitely wouldn't like being tied up like this," I said softly. Sophia ignored me. She stepped forward and grabbed my wrist. "It's all your fault. If you hadn't come here, he wouldn't come after me recklessly. You're really a nuisance." Sophia started blaming me. I heard it. Her tone suddenly became cold. Called out. "Sophia," she was momentarily stunned. "That text message, it was sent by you, right?" I stared at her coldly. "He was on the battlefield at that time. He couldn't say goodbye to me. This matter is very confidential. Only you know what mission he was on at that time." Her gaze first flickered. Then she became angry. "Yes, it's me. What's wrong? Why are you able to get engaged to him? I gave up my dreams for him. I worked hard to get into the police department as a team doctor, just to be able to stay by his side. Why is it that as soon as you appear, you can easily take everything away? She shouted excitedly. The medicine tray fell to the ground. You might not know. In recent years, every time he has an episode, I've been by his side. He is unwilling to rely on medication. He always grits his teeth and perseveres, even when he loses control. He has never harmed me. Sophia is a bit out of control right now. She is both crying and laughing. I quietly watch her, she says. He doesn't hurt you. It's because he never hurts anyone, I slowly say. He is originally a very good person. He always carries the ideals of justice in his heart. So every year when he makes a wish on his birthday, his first wish is always to become a good police officer. Only the second wish is to marry me. What a fool. I turn to glance at him, because the chains on his legs have been unfastened by me. He instinctively curled up. Like an abandoned puppy, he clearly lacks a sense of security, but he has always worked hard to protect everyone's safety. I held him tightly. It was like locking him up with chains. Liam is truly a very good person. We met in that old neighborhood. Back then, my dad had a lot of debts due to gambling. My mom worked tirelessly every day. There were often people knocking on our door. As soon as I heard the knock, I would immediately turn off the lights and hide in the bathroom. The people outside would complain a bit and then leave. Liam climbed in from his balcony and took me out. He often brought me candies. When I grew up, I still kept the habit of eating a candy when I was scared. He always said, I'm luckier than him because I still have a mom who loves me. Although he has parents, they don't love him. The two of them would throw things at home. When they got tired of fighting, they would casually grab pieces from the table and throw them at each other. While throwing, they would shout, if it weren't for you, we would have been divorced long ago. When he was sad, he would also lean against my window. Later, he went to school. Once, I overheard some boys in the bathroom discussing how to splash water on my clothes. That was the first time he hit someone. As a result, he was pulled by the teacher to the wall and made to stand there. He stood straight like a little pine tree, and even smiled at me. I gently kissed his forehead and said, Liam, do you remember you said you would always protect me? Get better soon. I forgive you. Actually, I never blamed you when I woke up. Liam was already up. He was standing by the window smoking, but he never used to smoke. I walked over and snatched his cigarette away. Liam, you should go back to your country. What about you? He asked. What do you want to do? I will answer. I want to complete what I need to do. Then, I gently touched his face. Wait for me to finish handling things. I will come back to find you. We will get married and never be apart again. I reached out and hugged his waist. He rested his head on my shoulder. He said softly, okay. Then he said, I will patiently wait for you to come back. 2 years later, the war is about to end. Ethan called me. He told me that the assignment at the station is coming to an end. You have worked hard these 2 years. When you come back, I should be able to get a senior title, you understand. I'm not doing this for that. I smiled helplessly. Okay. I know Olivia. The big reporter is not in it for fame or fortune. Ethan smiled too. Someone gently knocked on the door. I called out, please come in. A battlefield reporter who just arrived here came in. She's a young girl. She called me, sister. She softly called out to me. I smiled back at her. Sister. They plan to go to Victoria Lane. I heard there are bodies there. Many organs have been removed. The young girl finished speaking. I stopped packing my luggage. Sister, I heard you're going back to your country in a few days. But, the young girl hadn't finished her sentence and tears started to fall. I reached out to wipe her tears away. She is a petite girl from the south. Yet she stepped onto the battlefield without hesitation. She took on the heavy responsibility of being a reporter. Time is tight. She has no time to adapt slowly. She can only grow up quickly. Someone told her, I will go with you. I smiled slightly. She first smiled excitedly, glimpsed at my luggage, then, feeling a bit embarrassed, she lowered her head. As I passed through the stationed area, I saw Sophia. Back then, Liam had returned to his country. I thought she would go back with him, but she stayed behind. Her long hair was casually tied up. Her face, which used to be always meticulously made up, now looked dirty. She was busy weaving between the beds. I didn't look any longer. I walked straight ahead. Inside the building, the bodies were neatly arranged together. I opened the camera and started filming. The little girl let out a sigh of relief. She looked at me. I smiled and ruffled her hair. Slap. A streak of blood suddenly splattered out. He felt empty in his hand. He immediately shouted, be careful. The peacekeeping officer shouted loudly beside me. My hand is still suspended in midair. Just now, that still lively subordinate is now lying on the ground. The bullet hit her temple directly. A life that was only 20 years old has forever stopped here. The police pressed my head down and took me towards the car. The scene is chaotic. A police officer was shot in the leg. I hurriedly pulled the memory card from the camera. I supported him and continued to move forward. He said to me, "Olivia, you need to leave quickly." A young police officer pushed me. Suddenly, there was a loud bang. The building was instantly engulfed in flames. I didn't have time to look back. I quickly dragged the injured police officer out. A gun was pointed at us. The person across from us kept shouting, probably telling me to give him the camera. I hurriedly threw the camera over. The gun of that man is still aimed at us. I silently pray in my heart. He still opened the camera's card slot, seeing it empty inside. He couldn't help but curse. Death is right in front of us. I tightly closed my eyes. "Liam, this time I really have to leave. What are you going to do, Liam? You must live well." Suddenly, a familiar voice came through the intercom. "I'm here, immediately." The armed man across suddenly knelt down, then fell down. "It's the captain. The captain has arrived." The captain fired. The young officer shouted excitedly. In the smoke, a vehicle with our national flag quickly drove up. Liam's right hand still held the gun. He was only wearing a bulletproof vest. "We don't have time to say more. Quickly help the injured police officer into the car," Liam said. "The camera is broken. I only took one photo." I hurriedly grabbed his hand. The little girl's life ended here. I must capture enough evidence to bring these murderers to a military court. "Okay, let's go," Liam said without hesitation. He pulled me and dashed back into the dilapidated building. I quickly took out my phone and started recording video. "All right, we need to hurry and leave." Liam held my hand. I took one last look at the little girl's body in the ruins. I followed Liam and jumped down from the second floor. I couldn't find my helmet. Liam put his helmet on my head. "How did you get here?" I asked him while running. "You're going back home tomorrow. Let me pick you up." Liam said, "Are you so eager to marry me?" On the battlefield filled with gunfire, I smiled and asked him, "Are you still angry?" He asked. "Liam, I am willing to marry you, no matter if you are poor or rich, no matter if you are sick or healthy. I will always be by your side, forever unwavering." "Are you willing?" I shouted loudly, but no one responded to me. The side story is about Sophia at the Martyrs' Cemetery. I placed a bouquet of flowers in front of the tombstone. The tombstone reads, "Grave of Martyr Liam and his wife Olivia." When the rescue team arrived at Victoria Lane, there were already bodies everywhere. The scene was unbearable to look at. We quickly found the bodies of Olivia and Liam. They were tightly embraced. It took a lot of effort to separate them. After separating, we saw that they were hiding a phone in their arms. We handed over the evidence on our phones to the relevant authorities. The truth of this war has finally been revealed to the world. "Liam, Olivia, the war is over. You have also fulfilled your wishes. May you meet again in the next life." Extra, Ethan. The first time I saw her, she was wearing a striped shirt and jeans, with long curly hair. I initially thought she was like everyone else, just a superficial journalist, only a name on the list. Until she submitted an article. Her words were sharp. Her viewpoints were profound. That was when I truly got to know her. She was entirely focused on news, completely indifferent to other matters. She often offended people by sticking to her principles, but whatever she was committed to, she would give her all. I often helped her deal with troubles. I also wanted to remind her to be more realistic, not to always be lost in idealism. But every time the words come to my lips, I swallow them back down. I enjoy listening to her passionately discuss her views on society and current affairs in front of me. I like that she always yearns for change and innovation in the future of journalism. I like that after completing her story, she excitedly invites me to drink and celebrate. If she changes, then she will no longer be the person I once knew. So it's okay. I am willing to always help her deal with troubles. That night in the darkness, I met the male lead, Liam, for the first time as she confided in me after drinking. Just from this one encounter, I understood. Olivia will never love anyone else in this lifetime. Now, they are finally together forever. The gunfire outside resounds once more. The base alarm also sounds in response. This is already my 3rd year as a war correspondent. I don't know which day. I might also lose my life on this battlefield. Olivia.